Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you
Now,
think.
sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is holding a hearing on the alleged misuse and weaponization of letters of authority by personnel of Bureau of Internal Revenue.
President Bongbong Marcos confirms that Sara Diskaya has surrendered to authorities ahead of the issuance of her arrest warrant.
Authorities are now working with embassies in other countries following the cancellation of Saldico's passport.
Filipino athletes continue to rack up medals and bring pride to the nation at the 2025 Southeast Asian Games in Thailand.
All right, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee is conducting a hearing on the alleged misuse and weaponization of letters of authority by personnel of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Now let's watch this.
Convene to conduct this inquiry in aid of legislation. So we are honored by the presence of the Acting Secretary of Finance, Frederick Go. Good morning, sir. And two former and one incumbent commissioners of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, namely Attorney Kim Enares, Attorney Romeo Lumagi, and Commissioner Charlie Mendoza. Welcome. The others will be, the presence of the others will be acknowledged by the committee secretary later. Yeah, I'd like to also acknowledge the presence of the Senate President. Good morning, sir. And as I mentioned earlier, the Vice Chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, Senator Erwin Tulfo, who authored resolution number 180, actually. And also Senator J.B. Ejercito. Welcome back. JB. You're online. Good morning, JB. How are you?
I'm okay.
Okay na yung platelets mo. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome back, even via Zoom or WebEx. Yeah. So, Attorney Kimbo, kindly, wala ba si...
Only po sa
only. Okay. Please, kindly acknowledge the presence of the resource persons.
Good morning, Your Honors. Today, the witnesses present are the following. From the Department of Finance, Secretary Frederick D. Go. From the Bureau of Internal Revenue, Commissioner Carlito Martin Mendoza. Attorney Rufino Cantaros, Head Revenue Executive Assistant. Mr. Luis Sixtus Esquivas, Office of the Commissioner. Then we have Regional Director Renato Molina. Revenue District Officer Trinidad Villamil. Revenue District Officer Renato Mina. We have Revenue District Officer Lorenzo de los Santos. We have Revenue District Officer Yolanda Zafra. We have Revenue District Officer Antonio Mangubat. We have Revenue District Officer Celestino Viernes. We have OIC Chief for Large Taxpayer Audit Division, Miguel Angelo D. Alfaro. OIC Chief, Excise Large Taxpayer Audit Division, Ryan Calvin Morga. We have OIC Assistant Chief, Excise Large Taxpayer, Francis F. Nabua. We have OIC Assistant Chief, Regular LO Audit Division, Pauline Lydia M. Reyes. We also have Mr. Jos Allen Pilapil, Technical Assistance, Office of the Commissioner. From the Chiefs of VAT Transactions, we have Mr. Winston Sabado, Ms. Fe Lucas, Ms. Nina Cristina M. Espiritu. We have Ms. Lilibeth Nazario. We have Mr. Benedict Bacani. We have Ms. Marlene Dumapias. We have Ms. Karen Esperaguera. We also have with us, Your Honors, former Commissioner Romeo Lumagi, and those are the personalities present today. We have invited Ms. Elizabeth Lee from the Chairperson Federation of Philippine Industries. She has confirmed her attendance but is not yet present at the moment.
Please administer the oath to the resource persons.
May we request all invited guests to please stand up and raise the right hand for the oath? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this investigation? Please, I do to affirm your answer. Thank you very much. You may sit down. Your
Thank you.
Honors.
The Senate President is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually here to listen, so I will be giving way to the author of Resolution 180, Senator Erwin Tulfo, and the author of Resolution 201, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Vice Chairman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Today, this Blue Ribbon Committee convenes to confront a matter that strikes at the very core of public trust and governance. The misuse and abuse of the Bureau of Internal Revenue's letter of authority and mission orders. Instruments that by law should protect the integrity of our tax system, but which have reportedly become tools for harassment, coercion, and worse, extortion. For years, small and big businesses mula po sa maliliit na family convenience store hanggang sa malalaking korporasyon have raised serious concerns recently. Many claim that they were subjected not to fair tax assessment, but to pressure, intimidation, and questionable demands in exchange for the withdrawal or softening of tax investigations. Kahit po ang mga international companies, hindi na ninyo pinatawad, pinatos na ninyo. Itong mga kumpanya na ito na nagdadala ng trabaho, teknolohiya at pamumuhunan sa bansa ay hindi raw nakaligtas sa ganitong uri ng pang-aabuso ayon na rin mismo sa iba't ibang foreign chambers of commerce dito sa ating bansa at mismong ang kanilang mga ambassador. Let me be clear. The purpose of the letter of authority and mission order is to ensure that taxes owed to the government are collected properly, transparently, and lawfully. Hindi ito dapat gamitin bilang sandata ng pananakot o instrumento ng korupsyon. Unfortunately, only 2% of the total tax collected by the BIR from the business sector came from LOAs or mission orders. The 98%, ladies and gentlemen, from voluntary tax payments by the businesses. So ibig sabihin, Mr. Chair, 2% lamang ang pumapasok sa kaban ng bayan sa total tax collection. Yung the rest, 98% voluntary. So where did the rest of the collection go from these instruments? E di po sa bulsa ng mga examiner, RDOs at regional directors. Ganito po yung modus, Mr. Chair. 25% lang ng koleksyon kasi napupunta sa gobyerno yung may resibo. 75% goes straight to their pockets. If these complaints are true, then we are looking at systematic abuse that harms not only individual taxpayers, but also the nation's business climate and international reputation. Kapag nawalan po ng tiwala ang negosyo, local man o foreign, nawawala rin po ang trabaho, nawawala ang kita at oportunidad para sa ating mga kababayan. Today, this committee will seek the truth, Mr. Chair. We will examine how LOAs and mission orders have been issued, enforced, and allegedly exploited. We will ask hard questions. We will demand clear answers. And we will hold accountable anyone who has betrayed their sworn duty to serve with integrity. Our goal here is simple: to restore trust, protect our taxpayers, and ensure that public power is never, ever again used for private gain. Maraming salamat po. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman Tulfo. Senator JB, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. to our Senate President, of course, our colleague Senator Tulfo. Blessed good morning. The very instrument meant to ensure lawful tax compliance is being weaponized for corruption and extortion. Sinimulan po natin buksan ang issue ng pang-aabuso ng ilang kawani ng BIR sa pamamagitan ng issuance ng Letter of Authority o LOA noong Department of Finance briefing para sa 2026 budget. Inulit ko ito sa plenary interpellation ng budget at lumabas na pati pala sa iba pang nating mga kasamahan na senador, marami na rin pong sumbong sa kanila. Lalo na ang mga ambassador at mga miyembro ng American European Chambers ang may umangal na laban sa mga lowa ng BIR at nakakahiya na talaga po tayo. Alam natin na ang mahalagang papel na ginagampanan ng BIR sa pagpopondo ng mga programa ng gobyerno. Ngunit base sa mga impormasyon natin, tila na agrabyado ang gobyerno dahil pinagkakitaan din ang tax collection. May mga lumapit po sa ating tanggapan at may kanya-kanyang sumbong, ngunit ang malinaw ay ito. Mayroong umiiral na mga modo sa BIR na nakumpirma natin dahil sa mga nakuha nating mga impormasyon. Ito pong sumusunod stories ang letters of authority, ang multiple LOAs. Ang una pong modus base sa mga report sa atin ay ang pag-issue ng multiple LOAs within a taxable year or succeeding taxable years. Naranasan daw po ito ng mga taxpayer mula sa Quezon City na Jurisdiction and Revenue Region number 7A kung saan sa loob ng 6 na buwan, 4 LOA ang inisyu sa kanya. Ikinwento na rin po ng isang sender na 4 na beses na siyang nagkaroon ng LOA mula sa BIR Lawag, tig-2 para sa kanilang mini grocery at kainan. Isa lang siyang pangkaraniwang negosyante na nagsusumika para sa pamilya at sa 3 nilang anak. Utang sa bangko ang kanilang pinambayad sa BIR. Ang isa pa ay bloated or unsupported assessment, Mr. Chair. Bukod po sa multiple LOAs, mayroon din pong lumalabas sa mga report sa atin tungkol sa bloated na halaga ng tax assessment na walang basihan. Ang report po sa atin ay nag-offer, halimbawa ang BIR examiner sa City of Manila, na isettle ang LOA sa halagang 400,000 all-in dahil hindi sila pumapayag sa hinihinging lagay, naglabas ang examiner ng assessment na umabot ng 13 milyon o 13 million pesos. At nakakapagtaka raw dito dahil ang gross sales lang ang nagnegosyo ay 12 million pesos. Hindi pa nababawas sa expenses pero mas malaki pa ang assessment kaysa mismong kinita. Wala ring sapat na suporta o basehang dokumento ang pinapakitang computation. Isang negosyante rin, Mr. Chairman, ang nag-report ng kanyang naranasan kung saan ang original assessment amount niya na umabot ng milyon ng halaga ay na-negotiate niya na bumaba hanggang 500 hanggang 800,000 na lamang. Sa halagang ito, 100,000 lamang ang may resibo at ang balanse ay sa bulsa na napupunta. Ang problema raw, taon-taon na siyang may LOA dahil pumapayag siya sa settlement na lamang. Naging cycle na po tuloy ang extortion. Meron po nabanggit kanina rin po ang ating kasama si Senator Tulfo, yung po sa scheme, yung 70-30, minsan po ay 75-25 pa. Nabanggit ko na po sa ilang interview tungkol sa 70-30 na modus kung saan mahigit 70% ng halaga na assessment na binabayar taxpayer ay nabubulsa ng mga taga-BIR at halos 30% na lamang ang may resibo at napupunta sa kaban ng bayan. May report din po sa atin sa negotiation pa lamang ay nakaset na ang compromise amount kung saan 20% to 30% lamang ang para sa gobyerno at ang remaining portion ay paghahatian na ng examiners, supervisors at higher-ups kung gaano kataas umabot ang kickback. Yan po ang dapat nating alamin. Ang isa pa ho ay extortion in the guise of compromise. Naranasan na isang korporasyon sa Bulacan ang modus na extortion in the guise of compromise. Sa impormasyon na nakarating sa amin, ang tax examiner ang mismong nag-aalok ng mas mababang halaga para sa 30 milyon na deficiency na inoffer na 1.2 million na lamang at 800,000 for the boys at 400,000 ang nasa resibo. mas malaki po ang kickback kaysa sa resibo. Sa isang report natin, lantaran na tinatanong ng isang examiner kung magkano ang budget. Malaki o maliit ang isang negosyo, target ka ng BAR at pareho po mga kwento ng mga business owners na ito. Nagagamit ang LOA sa harassment, coercion at pilit na negosasyon. Ang negotiation ay hindi upang maresolba ang tax deficiency, kundi ito ay upang masigurado ang halaga na mapunta sa kanila. Sa halip na tulungan natin ang ating mga kababayan na lumago ang negosyo, ginigipit pa ang pinagkakakitaan. Takot din po ang ating mga kababayan na magsumbong sa BIR offices dahil sa pangamba na mas lalo sila pag-iinitan at gipitin. Mr. Chairman, sabi nga po nag-email sa akin ng kanyang LOA experience ay dalawang klase daw ang tax natin ayon sa BIR. Ang unang klase, magkano sa BIR at ang pangalawa naman, magkano ang sa amin. Nakakalungkot po na mula sa isang malaking ahensya gaya ng DPWH hanggang sa isang bureau katulad ng BIR, kanya-kanyang scheme, modus at kanya-kanyang scam na ang ating mga kababayan. Nagsimula sa floodgates, ngayon naman po ay LOA naman po. Mr. Chairman, we have to stop this culture of corruption that is now plaguing this country. Mr. Chair, maasa po ako na magiging ng committee na ito upang matigil na itong ganitong pang-aabuso sa ating mga kababayan. Makikinig po tayo at maghahanap ng mga kasagutan at solusyon. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator JB. Point of clarification lang, are all or some of these narrations in affidavit forms? On
Mr. Chair,
affidavits?
most of them are sa mga emails that were sent to my office. We will be submitting the same to the committee.
Kasi alam nyo naman, you and I know na dalawa yung aspects ng mandate ng Blue Ribbon, di ba? Inquiry in aid of legislation, yung sa accountability of public officers, and investigation. The other aspect could lead us to filing criminal complaints, no? Administrative and criminal complaints against those who may be held accountable for their action. So kaya ako tinanong kung naka-affidavit form or if at all, kung mako-convert natin into affidavit or sworn statements yung mga narrations. Kasi these are damning narrations, di ba? Or experiences.
Yes, we will do our best, Mr. Chair. As you all know, lahat naman ng tao, mostly businesses are afraid.
Yeah,
Takot talaga sa
understand.
BIR. Lahat naman tayo, kahit takot sa BIR eh. So we will do our best that we will be able to submit some in affidavit form, Mr. Chair.
Para magkaroon lang para maging admissible lang
Same thing with this
some other time. Yes, Vice
representation.
Chairman.
Same thing with this representation, Mr. Chair. We will ask these people because they just sent emails. Some of them are like cooperatives. We will communicate with them to send us affidavits, Mr. Chair. So that
Or we
can-
may invite them, para dito
I
sila
don't think
mag-testify.
they will be interested in coming over, Mr. Chair. Because sabi nga po ni Senator JB, kinakatakutan po ang BIR. Mas takot pa po ang mga negosyante sa BIR kaysa sa mga NBI, police. Makakita lang po ng BIR, nagsasara na po agad ng tindahan, ng bahay. How much more pupunta dito face-to-face, tuturo itong mga ito. So, I don't think, Mr. Chair, they'll probably submit an affidavit, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, for the information of the body, I personally invited Attorney Kim Menares to join us this morning. Wala tayong invitation sa kanya eh. So in-invite ko siya kasi she stayed in the bureau, I think for the longest time, full 6 years under the term of former or the late President Aquino. And I thought na she could help us shed light or even enlighten us. Bigyan tayo ng parang walkthrough do sa process on how laws are issued hanggang sa termination. Paano nagko-conclude? Tapos ano yung pakinabang ng gobyerno out of the laws issued and other issuances like MOs, di ba? Merong mission order and other activities like the formation of task forces. So gusto nating ma-account ano ba yung accomplishment. We don't really care that much kung ilang
That's the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing on yung mga letters of authority issue that we
Yes.
talked about, remember, a few weeks back with Senator JV.
Yes, so alleged misuse of letters
Of
of authority or
authority.
LOAs. But currently, BIR suspended their field auditors
Yes.
amid the calls nga to probe these allegations.
Tapos nag-coincide pa to yung, well, siyempre nagka-chismis lang. Yung time na lumalabas tong issue is yung napalitan din yung almost in the
Yes,
timeline. Same timeline, si Commissioner, then
Dumagi.
Commissioner Umagi. Oh.
All right, in other news, some House members are reportedly pushing back against live streaming this year's budget BICAM. The Bicameral Conference Committee on the 2026 national budget is scheduled from December 12 to 14, and Congress initially agreed to make the meetings public following long-standing criticism that key changes to the budget are made behind closed doors. But the reported resistance from the House has revived concerns about transparency. Senator Erwin Tulfo says the budget should be opened down to the last centavo, while Senate President Tito Soto insists he will not allow a closed-door BICAM.
Of course, di ba? Bakit wala naman tayong tinatago? That's budget of everybody. Pera po natin lahat yan. Hindi naman pera ng senador yan, ni congressman. Kaya kung ako tatanungin, why not? Di ba? Why do we have to hide? Di ba? At kailangan natin, i-live natin, di ba? Up to the last minute, last centavo, para makita ng tao.
Hindi ako mapayag na hindi naka-live stream. Naka-open, kitang-kita ng publiko, sino-sino naglagay ng ganito, sino-sino nagpasok niyan.
For more updates from the Senate, we now go to our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes. Merimon, what's the latest there?
Good morning, Angelo Angela. So far sa pagsisimula ng pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon Committee, yan lang kasi nakascheduled for today. Wala rin plenary session mamayang hapon. Sinabi naman ni Committee Chair Senator Ping Lacson na hindi pa terminated ang investigasyon or yung legislative inquiry ng komite patungkol sa anomalous flood control projects. Ang sabi ni Senator Ping, dahil lang din daw sa influx ng mga complaint, even yung pag-refer ni Senator Erwin Tulfo and Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, kaya nag-convene ngayon ang Blue Ribbon para isalang itong issue naman ng letter of authorities na sinasabi ginagamit for extortion, for scamming ng BIR. Pero ang committee rin, sinasabi ni Senator Ping, on the write-ups na rin daw sila ng partial committee report patungkol doon sa anomalous flood control projects. And so far, yung ilan sa mga narinig natin, nasabi ni Senator Erwin Tulfo doon sa kanilang mga nakuha namang impormasyon sa mga field auditors o yung mga gumagamit nito, inaabuso yung LOAs, 25% ng kanilang koleksyon ang may resibo lang, yun lang daw yung napapasok, 75% na ibubulsa raw ng mga ito. Kaya kung mababalikan natin noong November 24, inhinold na nga muna yung mga mission orders, yung pag-i-issue ng LOAs, yung mga field auditors, para masiguro at nandito rin naman parte ng resource persons, si Finance Secretary Frederick Go, and even si BIR Commissioner Charlito Mendoza, and si Commissioner Romeo Lumagi. Nandito sila ngayon. Kaya posible sa paglipas ng pagdinig ngayong araw, maririnig natin especially for Commissioner Lumagi kung ano nga ba possibly naging lapses during his term sa BIR.
Well, Miriam, I was wondering lang if there is a timeline on this investigation because like what I've mentioned with Diego here, nakasuspend ngayon temporarily yung mga field auditors dahil nga dito sa sinasagawang investigation. Pero are they also looking at kasi alam naman natin, importante ito, nasa proseso itong LOAS na ito sa BIR. Pero I was wondering if they're looking at abolishing itong LOAs, or gagawin pa rin naman ito in the future?
Angela, ang sabi dyan ni Senator J.V. Harris ito, last time nung hindi pa nakuhold itong Blue Ribbon Committee, nung ni-raise ni Senator J.V. na Senator Erwin yung issue nga dito sa BIR LOAs, kung sakali ang kailangan daw, mas pagtibayin daw yung monitoring nitong paggamit ng LOAs and yung mission orders. Kasi ang sinasabi ni Senator JV, lahat nga raw, even ang small businessmen, basta may makita raw na BIR, natatakot. Si Senator JV nga raw, natatakot din daw siya sa BIR. So kailangan daw na mas gawing bukas at mas maiintindihan din daw ng publiko. Pero at the same time, kailangan pagtibayin yung sistema na hindi raw ito na ibubulsa at lahat daw ng koleksyon na ginagawa, especially doon sa tax auditing, papasok daw at papasok sa gobyerno, hindi raw binubulsa. And ang isa pang tinitingnan nila dito, part din yun ng agenda, is yung checking nila sa digitalization efforts din naman ng COA para masiguro na from the field works, yung field auditors na ginagawa, mamamonitor din siya ng mas maayos through the digital platform. So yun yung isa sa mga tinitingnan nila. At the same time, ang nasabi din ni Senator JB last time, kailangan din daw mabusisi ngayon kung may mga sanction daw or penalty na maaaring mapata once proven na naabuso raw talaga itong mission orders o kaya naman yung letter of authority.
Well, Melvin, confirm ko lang, no, as of now, talagang hindi na ba tutuloy na itatawag ibang miyembro ng BIR to shed light on this? Kasi parang sinasabi ni Senator Erwin Tulfo, parang useless lang kasi baka hindi na magturo yung mga witnesses dyan kung sino yung mga may kasalanan.
So far, part kasi ng mga guest list for this day is meron din mga regional directors ng BIR. So for example, Makati City, Ermita Intramuros Malate, North QC, South QC, from Cubao, Taguig, West Makati. Meron din Audit Division 1, Large Taxpayer Service, Audit Division 1, Large Taxpayer Service, mga OIC ito, and even from the Office of the Commissioner, Technical Assistant. Knowing Senator Ping Lacson, ang sinasabi niya kasi pagdating dito sa Blue Ribbon Committee, inaayos nila lagi yung prioritization ng mga iimbitahan nilang resource persons. So maaaring, eto ngayon, since nandito, yung ilan sa pinaka-importante talaga na nabanggit nila Senator JB last time, si Commissioner Lumagi, Commissioner Mendoza, from the Department of Finance, and from COA. So maaari baka sa susunod na pagdinig ng Blue Ribbon, may iba pa silang ipapatawag na related dito.
So kapag tatapusin muna nila siguro yung witnesses at saka yung mga higher-ups, tapos yung mga possibly sa level ng mga accused, dun sila naman na-imbitahin sa next.
Kasi so far ngayon din, wala rin pa namang mapipinpoint na mga tao talaga. Ang pinakaginagawa nila, kukunin muna talaga nila ang lahat. Even na sabi ni Senator Ping, yung mga nakukuha ng impormasyon or yung complaints ni na Senator Erwin and na Senator JV, as much as possible, isumite raw ito into writing talaga para rin maging sworn statements ito para rin mas mapatibay talaga itong legislative inquiry ng Blue Ribbon.
Well, Merriman, we all know naman that these hearings are in aid of legislation, pero I was wondering also if there will be recommendations in the future after this investigation na magkaroon ng filing of cases dun sa people who are involved in this scheme to make sure we can hold people accountable.
Oo, Angela, hindi malabo. Kasi ang sabi last time ni Senator J.B. Henson, nung nakapanayam siya ng media, bukod sa gusto nilang malinaw kung meron nga raw ba talaga at ano yung sistema ng pang-aabuso dito sa BIR LOAs, gusto pa rin nilang managutan ang mga ito, especially yung mga field auditors o kaya naman daw sa mas matataas na posisyon na lumalagpas sa kanilang paningin o hindi nila nakikita na may pang-aabuso na nangyayari sa sistema. So hindi malabo na tulad ng ginagawa sa Blue Ribbon on the Anomalous Flood Control Projects, mayroon ding case build-up and then recommendation din ng charges later on. Kaya nga sa ngayon, for example, dito sa Blue Ribbon, meron ng partial committee report na maaaring lumabas. Rolyo na rin yung mga filing ng charges sa ICI, sa Office of the Ombudsman, sa DOJ. So hindi rin malabo na dito, lalo pat galit na sina Senator Erwin, sina Senator JV, maaaring mangyari din yun once proven talaga na may pang-aabuso sa sistema.
No, Merriman, balikan ko lang yung sinabi mo kanina regarding the investigation pa rin, pagpapatuloy ng investigation ng Senate Blue Ribbon Committee sa Anomalous Flood Control Projects. Sabi mo maglalabas sila ng mga partial evaluation regarding dun sa mga nakaraang hearing. Pero kailan ba yung susunod na hearing?
So far, Angela, ngayon, sa calendar na nakuha natin, wala pang nakaschedule tungkol dito. Even for next week, hindi pa nakaschedule ang Blue Ribbon. Pero we will see, kasi usually naman nagbabago siya day by day. So maaring later, pagkatapos ng Blue Ribbon na hearing ngayon, magkaroon ng pronouncement si Senator Ping na either next week meron ng schedule agad ng Blue Ribbon or next week o kaya naman baka biglaan may isabay siya bukas agad. So that will really depend din dito sa komite at sa mapagkakasunduan nila.
Last na lang before we let you go. Nakita mo ba yung pulang bag ni Senator Amy Marcos yesterday?
Ay, oo, hindi natin siya masyado nakagilap sa malapitan pero very iconic din. Same din dun sa crocodile
Yung
bus na
crocodile.
dinala ni Senator Amy no isang plenary session. Very may statements lagi. Pero wala masyadong nabanggit siya or wala na ibahagi si Senator Amy ulit na mensahe na nais niya iparating. Unlike last time nga yung doon sa buhaya bag niya, lagi niya, as in, pineflex niya talaga yun. Very timely daw.
Oo. Alright, maraming salamat sa iyong oras. That was mobile journalist Merrimon Reyes reporting live from the Senate.
Ano meron sa bag? Ano yung design?
Si crocodile din.
Ah, crocodile. So
Crocodile.
dati red, ngayon green. Di ba red si kapatid niya? No, kasi red is the color of
Oo.
Marcos.
Kaya nga red kasi nung nakaraan
pero
green.
ang green was Duterte.
Oh, well, we don't know. Kasi
Parehong
green naman talaga
crocodile.
ang kulay ng crocodile. Ba't ngayon bakit pula? Oh, that's why I'm asking.
Wala.
But that's speculative. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Sara Discaya's camp says the contractor surrendering to the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI is part of their legal strategy. Here's the report.
President Bongbong Marcos confirmed that contractor Sara Discaya is now in NBI custody, even without an arrest warrant yet.
Inaantay ang formal ng paglabas ng kanyang warrant of arrest. Kaya't nakikita po natin, maganda naman ng takbo ng proseso at yung ating mga hinihilaang na kasama dito sa ganitong klaseng sindikato ay haharap sa hustisya.
Discaya is facing graft and malversation charges in relation to a 96.5 million pesos flood control project in Davao Occidental. DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon said Discaya and other corrupt officials should spend Christmas in jail.
Buti naman, dapat naman talaga makulong na siya. Dahan-dahan, natutupad na yung pangako ng Pangulo natin. Na bago magpasko, marami ang makukulong, maraming magpapasko sa kulungan. And isa na dyan, si Sara Discaya. So, sigurado na yan.
Sara's husband Curly is not with her as he remains under Senate custody. Discaya's camp said her surrender was part of their legal strategy, adding that this demonstrates her willingness to face the allegations.
Nakalatag na ho lahat yan, ma'am. In any eventualities na magkakaroon ng may sumampang kaso at may merong impending issuance of warrant of arrest, nagkataon lang siguro na nagpa-press release ang ating butihing Pangulo na nagbuo siya ng tracker team. Pero hindi ho namin inuna ng Pangulo.
They vowed to exhaust all remedies to have the case dismissed.
Mas maganda na ho yan. Walang gastos ang gobyerno, walang pagod ang gobyerno. Alam namin, base din sa ebidensya, na hindi naman talaga ghost project. Tapos po yung proyekto. Napakalakas talaga ng mga pagbaha at pagbagyo. The project cannot withstand the calamities.
Secretary Dizon emphasized that this is only the beginning and many more will be charged and jailed.
Tuloy-tuloy kami. No, ayoko lang pangunahan ng ICI, pero meron kami ulit na i-rekomenda, sabi naman natin, every week.
Meanwhile, Assistant Ombudsman Miko Colovano confirmed that additional cases may be filed this week.
President Bongbong Marcos confirmed that the government has officially canceled Saldico's passport. Here is the report.
Ang passport po ni Saldico ay kanselado na.
President Bongbong Marcos has confirmed that the passport of former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico has been officially canceled. In his public report, the President announced that the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Philippine National Police have been directed to coordinate with foreign embassies to help locate the fugitive lawmaker.
Para tiyakin na hindi maaring magtago itong ating hinahabol na magtago doon sa kanilang bansa at kung sakali man ay siya'y pupunta ron ay i-report sa atin para naman ay maibalik natin siya dito sa Pilipinas.
COS lawyer Attorney Rui Rondain, however, says he only received a copy of the Ombudsman's motion to cancel the passport. He doubts that the Sandigan's 5th Division already acted on it, noting they'd still have 5 days to file an opposition. But Foreign Affairs Secretary Maria Teresa Lazaro says the cancellation was finalized exactly at 5 p.m. in accordance with the Sandigan Bayan Resolution and the order of the President.
alinsunod sa resolusyon na ibinaba ng Sandigan Bayan at sa kautusan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr., kinansela na ang pasaporte ng dating Ako Bicol Party List Representative Elizalde Salcedo Co.
Co is wanted for graft and malversation charges over an allegedly anomalous flood control project in Oriental Mindoro. In a video earlier released by Co, he claimed he left the Philippines in July for a medical checkup. The Interpol has issued a blue notice to monitor his movements. Reports indicate he traveled to the US, Japan, Singapore, Spain, and Portugal. Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla earlier said Co may be hiding in Portugal and the Philippines could seek assistance from the Portuguese government, especially with the reports that Co may also hold a Portuguese passport. The ombudsman previously assured that Co would be given protection should he return to the Philippines. But Co's camp insists he remain afraid to go home, citing threats to his life and heightened public anger.
Senior Citizens Party List Representative Rodolfo Ordanes is opposing the transfer of the National Commission of Senior Citizens to the Social Welfare Department. In a privileged speech, Ordanes warned that moving the NCSC under the DSWD could weaken the commission and return programs for the elderly to what he described as a slower, less focused system. He insisted the NCSC was created to operate independently and deliver faster, dedicated services to senior citizens. This comes after President Bongbong Marcos ordered the transfer of the commission to the DSWD to strengthen policy coordination and improve service delivery for elderly Filipinos. The executive order took effect in September.
And to talk more about this, we have Dr. Mary Jean Loreche, former chair of the National Commission of Senior Citizens. Good morning, Doc. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nakamute po kayo,
nakamute po, Doc.
Nakamute po, we can't hear you. Let's try that again.
Ayusin muna natin yung audio. Yan ni Doc. Yan.
Let's try that again.
Wala pa
Good
rin, Doc,
morning.
eh.
Can you
Good
hear us
morning.
okay? Wala. Let's fix muna the audio.
Yeah, let's fix the audio muna.
Para mas maganda yung ano natin. Yeah, kasi yun nga no, this order comes after President Bongbong Marcos sinabi nga niya na ilipat itong komisyon
Yes,
ito under DSWD, which is yung sinasabi ng mga tao under this commission na parang hindi nila nagugustuhan. No, gusto nila hiwalay ito kasi pag under DSWD, according to them, parang hindi mas mapapabilis yung mga programs for the elderly.
Tsaka kasi yung DSWD is ayuda-centric for the underprivileged, di ba? At daming issue, so baka yung tugon na kailangan for the senior citizens, hindi ma-prioritize.
That's right.
Oo.
Okay, let's try that again. Wala pa siya. Okay, so this was, itong executive order na to took effect in September pa lang.
Okay.
So, meron nga kasi nga privileged speech yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or the other day, itong representative ng Senior Citizens
Yes,
Party
yes.
si Rodolfo Ordanes, saying nga na hindi nila nagugustuhan itong pag-transfer ng Senior Citizen Commission under DSWD. But what can they do at this point?
Yes,
That's a question, di ba? Because it's an
Transferred na,
executive
di ba?
order,
Yeah,
it was done already. And as we speak, ang National Council for Senior Citizen ay under DSWD.
Pero kung EO
na.
kasi yan, ang EO naman pwede i-rescind
Yeah,
Hindi
pero...
mo siya batas
Oo.
I mean, I'm just saying, for matters of discussion
If the
lang.
President will say.
If the President will say
Kasi
it.
siya naman yung... unless they will have a dialogue with the President.
Oo. At saka budgetary purposes kasi kailangan mas madali. Pag meron siyang major department na kinabibilangan, kasi doon ang allocation mo pupunta.
Oo.
Hindi mahihirapan.
Oo. Pero we'll see no, kung ano ba yung mga hinaing, most especially ng mga senior citizen dito sa bagong utos na ito through executive order ng Presidente.
Oh, definitely, madami pang kulang pa in terms of making society a friendly society for senior citizens. So, let's see moving forward. But for now, don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us.
Right. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. And
of course, let's get back to Dr. Mary Jean Loreche, the former chair of the National Commission on Senior Citizens. Doc, good morning.
Welcome
Good
back.
morning. Magandang umaga po.
Well,
Finally.
finally, and thank you for joining us, Doc. No, of course, I'd like to get your reaction on this issue about yung sinasabi nila ni Congressman about yung
Pag-transfer ng NCSC
sa DSWD.
Sa DSWD.
Alam niyo po, usapin na yan nung ako po ay nandoon pa sa komisyon, no? And until the end of my term, yung September 17. Pero kung titingnan kasi natin ay talaga namang ang ating mga elderly population or senior citizens dapat may focus commission or agency na nakatutok lang sa kanila. Sa mga usapin na yan sa ASEAN summits na aking naatenan at nai-represent ko ang Pilipinas, ay napakaganda po sana na tayo ay may sariling komisyon para sa mga nakatatanda. You know, evidence have shown us, na data has shown us na kahit sa ibang bansa, wala pa yung ibang mga bansa na meron talagang isang ahensya nakatutok sa seniors. And so the Philippines is a leading country na tinitingala nila ngayon dahil meron na tayong sariling NCSC purely for our senior citizens.
So, pareho po kayo, Doc, ng concerns ni Representative Ordanes, no, regarding na by doing this, in essence, pinapahina natin ang NCSC, and you think under DSWD po, Doc, hindi nila mabibigyan ng full 100% attention ng mga seniors?
Mahirap sabihin na hindi kayang ibigay. Ang atin lang ay dahil we are an aging population and the lawmakers, you know, and the government per se, when they created NCSC in 2019 via RA 11350, recognizes already that we are a growing sector, kaming mga nakatatanda. At ito yung tatahakin nyo rin, darating din kayo dyan. So mas maganda siguro na may isang ahensya nakatutok para dito sa kanilang mga pangangailangan. Iba kasi yung merong focus kagaya lang ako, I'm a medical doctor, my specialty is pathology. So I would rather be, if I'm going to see a patient o yung pasyente ay titingin sa akin, gusto ko na yung specialista para dyan, di ba?
Right.
So we have geriatricians para sa ating mga nakatatanda. Programs per se, on the ground, mas maganda ang impact kapag focused yung sector na nakatingin sa kanila.
But this executive order has took effect already in September. Kumbaga parang sabi ko kay Diego kanina, what else can we do under this commission kung ito po ay naiutos na ng presidente through an executive order?
Naku, sa usapin ng mga batas na yan, I am not the right person because I'm a medical doctor. I would like to leave that to the experts on that, no? Kung ang executive order ba ay pupwede na ibabaw sa isang executive order ang isang batas. So I don't wanna talk about that. I leave that to the policymakers and to those experts on that. Pero sa ngayon, nakikita natin dumadami ang mga nakatatanda at dumadami din ang kanilang mga pangangailangan. And so strengthening and supporting the National Commission of Senior Citizens to deliver its mandate would be the way forwards.
But what would be when you were in the commission pa po, no, Doc, ano pa po ba yung mga nakikita po natin na dapat gawin for the elderly at this point?
Meron na tayo kasi mga programs na sinimulan nung tayo ay nasa komisyon pa. Kagaya nung kanilang health and wellness, no? Nandun sa ating community-based care centers, yung tinatawag nating one-stop shop upang mai-deliver and a whole of government, whole of nation approach. Kasama natin both the private sector, medical specialties, both national and international engagement. So collaborative kasi yon. Pangalawa, kung titingnan naman natin ang pagbigay ng expanded centenarian cash gift, which is a new law, no, implemented at tayo ay nag-implement noong February of this year, ay kayang-kaya naman ng komisyon yan. So yung mga programang kinakailangan para sa mga nakatatanda, kailangan lang siguro na suportahan pa kung ano yung kailangan ng komisyon, manpower, resources, more financial siguro, no? Para ito ay mapaigting pa ang pag-deliver ng kanilang mga programs.
Is there a plan on your part or even o kaya po yung mga miyembro po ng NC or NCSC na magkaroon ng dialogue with the President to raise your concerns regarding the executive order?
Siguro sa panibagong namamahala ngayon, no, sa komisyon, that should be their call. So ayokong i-preempt sila
Yeah.
kung ano yung kanilang gustong mangyari. Subalit ako as a private citizen now, after having been with the National Commission of Senior Citizens, I believe that would be a very good way forward upang maiparating natin sa ating Pangulo at sa mga namumuno na talaga namang paigtingin na lang natin kung ano man yung mga programa, ano yung functions, no, at deliverables ng komisyon.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was Dr. Mary Jean Loreche, former chair of the National Commission of Senior Citizens. Mag-ingat po kayo and thank you for joining us.
Maraming salamat.
Action continues for Team Philippines at the 2025 Southeast Asian Games in Bangkok, Thailand. And for the latest, we have One Sports' Carlo Pamintuan joining us today. Good morning, Carlo. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning from Bangkok. Thank you for having me today.
Alright, Carlo, let's get right to it. No? Sabi nila, humakahakot na daw tayo ng medal. So ano yung latest tally natin?
Alright, so far we have 13 medals right now. Inumpisahan tayo ng Taekwondo with our first gold yesterday, courtesy of Kobe Macario in Taekwondo Pumse individuals. And then another followed from our swimming team in the 4x100 dun sa ating swimming team freestyle naman led by Kayla Sanchez and Chloe Isleta. Kaya nakadalawang gintong medalya na po ang Pilipinas. We have a total of 13 medals. We have 2 silver medals as well coming from the same sports in Taekwondo and swimming. And then the others will be coming from different sports. Meron tayo from chess. Our first ever medal here in Bangkok was courtesy of mountain biking. It was a bronze medal. So we're expecting our athletes to do more and to perform better and to bring home more golds, hopefully, here in the second day of competitions officially in Bangkok.
Excited kami dito. So ano yung mga abangan na or notable competition that we must keep our eye on for today?
Alright, I'm really excited for our boxing team kasi yun talaga yung nasusundan ko, no? In terms of the boxing squad, we have 13 athletes who came in to Bangkok. Sinuwerte tayo dun sa draw in terms of where they landed because 6 of them automatically will win medals just because of the draw. Dahil lang dun sa bunutan, sa semifinals na sila napasok. So that is guaranteed 6 medals already, including the likes of Nesty Petesio, Yumir Marshall, Ira Villegas, names that are very familiar with our Filipino supporters because nakapag-Olympics na sila. Yesterday, one of them also won to make it into the quarterfinals, so into the semifinals rather. So there are 7 guaranteed medals already for the sport of boxing. We are hoping that 2 of our athletes will qualify into that stage, into the semifinals. 2 of them will be seeing action a little later on. Itong si Jay Baricuatro, who's a really tremendous young boxer, only 23, 24 years of age, in his first ever stint in the Southeast Asian Games. Maglalaro na siya mamaya, lalaban kontra sa Vietnam, and then he will be followed by Claudine Veloso. And Claudine Veloso has a unique story because she actually comes into the 2025 Southeast Asian Games from a gold medal in 2023 but for a different sport. Sa kickboxing siya nakakuha ng ginto back in Cambodia, now transitioning to boxing, hoping for the same kind of success. They will both take on athletes coming from Vietnam, which is a country that is slowly gaining rhythm. Nagiging malinaw na number 3 na sa boxing yung Vietnam outside of Thailand and the Philippines, which has dominated the region in the past decades in the sport. So we're hoping for good results, and I'm certain that they were prepared very well to be able to secure victories in the quarterfinals later and march on to the semifinals to get their medals.
Well, based on your observation and the history ng boxing sa SEA Games, sino ba yung nakikita mo ngayon na talagang mahigpit na makakalaban ng Pilipinas?
Who has the best road forward?
Well, to be honest, because there are 16 weight divisions in boxing, yung Thailand lang, they only allowed themselves to fill in all 16 weight categories. Sila lang yung pwedeng kumumpleto. As the host, they have the right to do that.
Yes.
All the other countries were limited to just 13. So doon pa lang, mabigat na, heavy na yung advantage in terms of the overall performance for the sport of boxing. Malinaw na sila yung papaboran to win the most number of gold medals. And in the SEA Games, the host team is really expected to win overall, lalo na kung Thailand yan. Because they're also a boxing powerhouse. Sila yung mga pinakamahigpit na makakalaban natin because they've sent in former Olympians, Asian Games medalists, former SEA Games gold medalists. If you want to name one country na talagang kailangan pagdaanan ng Pilipinas to get to the gold, it is certainly Thailand here in Bangkok. But I mean, our athletes are ready. Pinaghandaan nila ng mabuti itong competition na to. They've trained well under the guidance of ABAP. They flew in very early to train here in Bangkok. So they had an opportunity to get acclimated, to adjust to the weather, to the season, dun sa konting time difference din between Manila and Thailand. So we're hoping for a good performance from our boxers.
How about sa ano natin, of course, yung gymnastics and athletics team? How is it looking in terms of competition? Is it favorable for us?
In terms of competition, syempre, mahigpit din naman talaga lahat yan. In the Southeast Asian Games, you can never say that they are guaranteed medals. But in terms of gymnastics and athletics, I think we will get our fair share because we have great athletes as well. We are hopeful that we will be able to pick up a medal from our Gilas Pilipinas men 3x3 basketball team a little later on. Kasi mamaya na yung kanilang gold medal round. They scored 2 good wins yesterday against really tough opponents in Vietnam and Malaysia. They will take on Laos in a couple of hours, but they should take care of business against Laos to be able to get to the semifinals. Tapos dalawang panalo pa after Laos yung kailangan nila to get to a gold medal. Hindi pa natin napapanalo yung gold medal from 3x3 basketball since we hosted the SEA Games in 2019. So we're very eager talagang sana makuha na natin yon because as we know, aside from boxing, basketball and volleyball, yun yung top sports talaga na pinapanood sa Pilipinas. So gusto natin na maumpisahan ng tama yung performance ng basketball team just as Gilas Pilipinas men and women are about to fly in today. Yung ating mga 5-on-5 teams are on their way from Manila to Bangkok as of this moment.
Well, we can only pray and cheer for our biggest delegation yet in the history of the Philippines. Maraming salamat sa iyong oras and mabuhay kayo dyan. One Sports, Carlo Pamituan.
Interior designer Rosy Yabut Rojales explains how bigger pictures play a key role in supporting architects. While designers can envision spaces in detail, she notes clients often find it challenging to interpret plans and imagine the final space. Bigger Pictures addresses this by transforming technical drawings into clear visual representations that make the design immediately understandable. Rossi emphasizes that this visual approach goes beyond mere illustration. It allows architects and designers to communicate their ideas effectively, ensuring that clients fully grasp the flow, scale, and layout of a space. She adds that this clarity also supports confident decision-making throughout the design process.
Bigger Pictures is a design technology partner that transforms the way architects and interior designers communicate their design. They specialize in clear and highly visual design translation using projectors, turning plans and concepts into visuals that support confident decision-making for both designers and clients.
Now, as holiday shopping picks up, students and community members flock to UP Diliman, not just for good deals, but to do good as well. This as the UP Flea Market turns Christmas buying into a fundraising effort for typhoon victims. Here's the story.
Dahil panahon na naman ng Christmas shopping, maraming mura sa UP Flea Market. For a good cause pa. It's a flea market and the fundraising in one. That's because the 50 peso entrance fee to the road market at UP Diliman will be donated to typhoon victims. This was organized by the student group For the Road PH, which gives monetary donations to communities in need. Clothes, jewelry, stickers, and food items are sold at the market.
Mostly crochet and may beadworks, tapos may mga stickers and pins, original art. Cheapest is yung smallest keychain, 30 pesos.
Our cookie prices range from 85 to 95 pesos.
Some have begun their Christmas shopping at the flea market.
I just want to look around to see if mayroon akong mabili na Christmas gift for my friends or my family.
Aside from buying gifts, visitors can also go on a photo booth or get a piercing.
We have yung piercing services and we also have yung jewelry. 300 to 1,000 pesos yung piercing. The road market resumes its run on December 18 to 20. Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
All right. Well, congratulations to LaSalle yesterday for the win. We were there, we watched it. And for now, that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.